Welcome, everybody, to this episode of Two Beans and a Screen. I am your host, CB. I'm joined by my co-host, Comey. Hello, hello.
Hello. It's been so long.
We have obviously, yes, taken a fairly long break. One, we're sorry. And two, it turns out life sometimes gets in the way. We wanted to get back to this, but we also knew that because we were behind on the episodes, that the hype had died down a little bit. And so we felt it would be okay to take a little break. We were busy with work and a whole bunch of other stuff, but we still really, really wanted to finish the show. So we have come back. We're going to do episode 14 this episode. We're going to do 15, and then we're going to cap it off with the finale. And then we're going to start looking for a new show that we can be on time with. 2 episodes per week. That's the goal. We're going to find the right one, and we'll get right into it. But Comey, it's been a while. We haven't done this for a while. We might be a little bit rusty.
Yes.
Are you excited to chat about this episode, or has the hype entirely gone away for the show?
I mean, when we took our break, I was a little like, oh, I kind of want to watch it, but like we haven't discussed like when our next episode was, and then just kind of like died down. But as soon as I started watching it again, I was like, oh my god, the feels are coming back. And Song Joong-ki got married and he's having a kid. I mean, apparently news came out he had a girlfriend in like December, but like we didn't know that.
Yeah.
And then I got hit with the news that he got freaking married and kids on the way, and I'm like, god damn.
I can confirm that she was not happy that day.
I had a really bad day. I mean, I feel like that was the actual start of like the downfall of my week. Just that Monday morning when I saw the headlines and everything. So I don't know. Yeah, I'm happy for him.
Just no. Yeah, we're happy for you, but also hearts were broken.
Yeah, just a little sad. But yeah. I hope your future kid will be cute and not look like an alien.
Wait, why would they look like an alien?
Do you think newborns look like aliens? Like they look
oh my god, every baby looks like an alien. Yeah, I've been trying to say this for years.
They're not cute when they come out.
I was just trying to say this the other day. Like 6 months is when they start to look like a human.
6 months?
3 months, a little bit. 6 months, I need to be able to communicate with them. You come out, you have a soft spot that is basically like a self-destruct button. You're an alien. At the point where you can communicate, then we're talking. Literally, we're talking, and then we're good.
I think you expect too much from a 6-month-old.
Probably.
Yeah.
Probably.
Yeah, but
a lot of people don't talk until like well after a year, I think, right?
Yeah.
I was talking at 9 months, so I just assumed that was normal. I don't know.
He's just dropping that brag. I was talking at 9 months.
What? That's not a brag. I was a child.
Okay, yeah.
I'm dumb. It's fine. It all balanced out in the end. This is what I get for not eating enough mushrooms when I was younger. I don't have any brain cells.
How do mushrooms even correlate?
They help with brain functioning.
No, you're lying.
No,
you're lying. Anyways.
All right, let's talk about Reborn Rich. Yes. So this episode, big reveals across the board. Yeah. And I feel like the most important one is, I think in the very last episode, maybe, we were talking about how a certain someone was the one person that we felt hadn't betrayed anybody, or maybe even wouldn't betray anybody, because he seemed so dedicated to the chairman. He was so good to Do-jun. What happened with Mr. Lee?
Yeah, nah, man. As soon as they started bringing up the hospital footage, I was like, ah, crap. And then Mr. Lee says he got me to delete the footage. And I was like, yo. I mean, we expected it by now, but like, yo. Like, what the heck? Like, everything tied in together so well, where they said,
yeah,
the news article saying, like, the news text. People got news on their, like, from text back then? That's wild. Was that actually a thing?
I feel like they're, like, treating it like a buzzer. A lot of people had buzzers back then, so that you would get, like, a little blurb or something like that, but I don't know. I have no idea. I don't know.
Yeah,
that's well before my time even.
Yeah, that's wild. So they got text. Everyone got a text saying that he was abusing the chairman, and obviously they're like, oh, yo, we could just check the CC footage. Oh, how convenient, right? Like, everything was so like planned to the T type of thing. I was like, damn, that sucks. How do you even get out of that when 2-0 was like, um, is the context of the text true? Were you supposed to say in that situation? Yeah. Like, wouldn't
Yeah,
anyone say no? Like, what kind of these questions?
and he did a really good job. So 2-0 actually, I feel like, played that situation really well because he can't go against him. So obviously the role of a chairman is to continue the discussion and kind of oversee everything. So he framed everything to make him look like a bad guy without going after him. And so, yeah, you're right. What do you say in that situation? He said exactly what he could, which is it's not true. And then obviously people are going to ask for proof. And when there's no proof because he said that, it's that perfect tee up for 2-0, or sorry, for Mr. Lee.
Yes. And at the end, when like everything was wrapping up and he got appointed CEO or whatever, he has his back towards the crowd and he asked Jin Do-jun, would Chairman Jin Yang Chol would have told me to delete the CCTV footage? I'm like, damn, I don't know. That's crazy. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think he would have because, one, Jin Do-jun did it out of a kindness because he thought it would be used against the chairman. And on top of that, the lesson through this whole show, I thought there was going to be some lesson about kindness or something like that. No. The one lesson we have learned from the show is do not trust anybody. And they meant anybody. That includes the chairman. That includes his own father. That includes everybody. There's only 2 characters who have not betrayed anybody in the show. Can you think of who they are?
What, So Min Young or whatever?
No. I don't count her.
The brother 441?
Yep, the brother and the mother. They're the only ones. And it's because the mother's not a part of the family, really. Like, she married into the family. Like, everybody involved with the family, involved with the business at all, has become corrupt. You cannot trust people when it comes to money. And that's the one lesson that has actually held firm.
Yeah.
You can't trust Mr. Lee. You can't trust the grandmother. You can't trust anybody. I can't even trust the brother or the mom.
You have trust issues now?
I have so many trust issues. I don't know. What about you? Like, can you say with certainty that even him, I feel like Do-jun has become corrupt, especially with how we see him later in the episode and how he used to be. He is a very different person than he was in his last life.
Yeah. I mean, well, money obviously changes people, like, no doubt. But yeah, I mean, the amount of times the chairman has told us, don't trust anyone, don't trust anyone, don't trust anyone, don't trust anyone. I feel like I just don't trust anyone in the show at all already. Like, he said it like 90 times. So, but like, speaking about the mom, in the very first scene of the show where it was 4-0 and the grandma together, and he said, I even married someone you and father don't approve of. I'm like, yo, did he do that on purpose? Does he even like her? Like, I'm so sad. Like, do you think he genuinely likes his wife now? Because I'm like, did you only marry her just out of spite?
I feel like it's a mix of both. I think he probably did marry her out of spite. I believe him when he says that, because I feel like that was the first time we've seen him be fully honest in the show. It's one of those things where I think all of it was probably half-truths, right? Like, I think he really does care about his family. And they say that you are a reflection of the people that you are closest with, right? So the 5 people that you're closest with. So being around his wife and his children, who are actually kind individuals, they probably helped him be more kind. But at the same time, there's that, well, Soon Young side to him where he was still that person. And so I feel like he was opening up to his mom and in that situation and being honest of, I married her partially because I love her and partially because I knew it would piss you off and make you happy that I'm not even trying to be part of this family.
Yeah. I can't believe, like, they hit us so early in the episode with, like, just hit you in the feels. Like, he even says, like, I know how you feel, like, how, like, all these years you basically endured my presence. Like, wow, I genuinely, like, thank you in a way that, like, I was like, damn, that's pretty deep. And then she just disappears.
Do you think that's the last we've seen of the grandmother?
I mean, they full on say, you're gonna be gone for a very long time, right? So,
yeah.
I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if she never shows her face again, because it kind of conveniently like wraps up that line, right?
It does. It does. And it again, she was the villain for probably like a solid 2 episodes, and I never felt like she was the end game. It felt like she was one of the pieces on the board.
Yeah.
Whereas, who do you think is going to be the end villain? Do you think it's going to be 1-1? It's one. It is 1-1, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's 1-1. Do you think it's going to be 1-1 in the end, or who do you think is going to be the person that we have to see the showdown with?
I feel like it would have to be 1-1 because it's like the battle of the grandsons or whatever, blah blah blah. I mean, 2-1. So their cousin, the girl, um, she's pretty villainy right now. I mean,
Yeah.
Mr. O mentions in the episode she only volunteers in places where she can evade taxes, and I was like, God damn, she is kind of evil.
Yeah.
So I feel like she'll have her like segment as well, but like the ultimate like final boss would probably be like 1-1 or something.
It'll be interesting to see. Again, do you remember a long, long time ago, I made a prediction. It was like episode 2 or 3, and I made a prediction that Jindo Jun was going to end up killing his former self.
Something like that.
Yeah, so my idea was that in the future, he ends up having to kill his former self to basically, I didn't know at the time, but it would be protecting himself. And so I was like, how crazy would it be if that's actually what it was? And it's looking more and more likely that that could actually be the case.
Oh, so like his like pretend we're in his old life. The person who killed him in his old life is the him in the new life, like the
Exactly,
rich
like-
Jin Do Jun.
Can we, yeah, let's jump to the end of the episode quickly to talk about this, because I think this is going to shape a lot of what happens in the future. Do you think so? So to frame it for everybody, the last scene we see his old life where he's working as a chauffeur. He was having a lot of trouble making money. We see him getting, yelled at in a restaurant by another employer, and then he has a breakdown and ends up on the side of the road. And sure enough, who's standing across the road but current day Jin Do Jun looking at him. And so you have, well, in this case, you have the same actor looking at himself across the street, but we're not sure. We're not sure in that moment whether they actually are looking at each other or he's just reminiscing, because the way they shoot it is one perspective, then the other perspective, and then when they see each other across the street, there's a divide down the middle, and it looks like 2 different scenes entirely.
It looks like our
So
colors.
Comey, exactly. It's exactly that. It's like orange and blue, right? Do you think that we were seeing them interact, or was it him remembering that moment?
Oh man, dude, I do not know how to answer that because I can totally see it going the way you're suspecting it. How it could be
Yeah.
like his old life and new life are coming together type of thing. But like
Right.
at the same time, throughout the episodes when we see him visit his old life, we never saw him there. We never got to see the old Jin Do Jun or whatever his name was. I can't
We
remember.
did
now.
for a brief moment.
Was it him?
Yeah. So he mentioned it was one of the first times that he went to see them. I think it actually was the very first time. He didn't interact with them at all. He just wanted to see them.
When he
And
was a
he
kid?
confirmed that, yeah, so it was his brother was there, and then he got home at that moment. And we didn't see his face or anything, but we did see him enter and get like praised by the dad, and then he left. So we know that he exists. That's what it confirmed, is like, oh, okay. So his old
man.
self exists in this universe.
Oh man, I I feel like I could see him taking the easy route and just saying it's like the reminiscent moment, like the artistic
Right.
moment. He just sees his old life type of thing. And that was like the easy way out for them. They don't have to dive
Yeah.
into this new rabbit hole type of thing.
Mhm.
But yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if it goes down your way. Like, what is he gonna do? He's gonna scheme with himself and then he's gonna kill himself later, or like kill his old self. Because like, yeah, what you said.
Yeah. I don't really just know how exactly it would play out. I guess that's where I still need to figure it out. Because the way I see it, it could go 2 ways. As you kind of talked about, it's either he's remembering and feeling the guilt because when he was called out for being this person who comes from money and how Mr. Lee would never be able to do what he does, he can just choose who his owner is, essentially.
Mm-hmm.
There was this long conversation between the two of them. And when he hears that, he reminisces about back in his old life when money was not something he could come by, whether he worked hard, begged, or stole. The one thing that he could not do was get money. And so we see him go through this where his brother was sick and in the hospital, and his dad is maxing out credit cards and doing whatever else he needs to do, but they just couldn't make ends meet. And so that's when he has this breakdown. So I could see him reminiscing on that, given the financial crisis that's actually happening in the country in terms of credit card debt and all of that, and how he was a victim of that. And so maybe he's thinking back on that and being like, okay, how can I actually change? How can I, maybe this is a shift where he's like, okay, this is a turning point. I doubt it. What more likely I think happens is he sees his old self and he goes, I see the opportunity. I'm going to give him the opportunity he needs to get off the ground, and then he can do what he will with it. And maybe he thinks he can still change it. I don't know. I don't know exactly how that would play out. And maybe he will eventually realize that he is his own downfall and still go through with it. Or maybe that is the one thing that will change in the future, and his old self will get to survive and he has to instead take the fall. I don't know. I mean, a lot of things have ended up where I don't think he thought they would go. I don't think that he thought he would actually love his family, or at least his, the chairman. Mm-hmm. And we should jump back and talk about that. But I don't think that he actually considered a lot of the stuff that was in this life. I thought he thought he would breeze through it and just get his revenge and walk away. And I don't think that was the case for him.
Yeah. I feel like, I mean, you were reborn again at 11 years old, and you have to live a full life with, oops. So you're reborn at 11 years old again, and you have to live a full life with these people. I feel like it's inevitable that you're gonna feel some attachment to someone, at least in the family, right? Like whoever treats you well type of thing. But yeah, very interesting theories. There's only 2 episodes left. They can only do so much, right? I feel like if they add too many complexities right now, it's just gonna get too muddled up and everything. But yeah, I don't know. There's a lot of opportunities and a lot of different directions they can go to, which makes me excited for the next episode. I want to see could this be his old self that he meets now in this new timeline, this new life or whatever, or is it just a memory type of thing? But what he said too at the end when I inherited wealth, poverty was passed down to you, as he was looking at his old self. I was like, oh my god, like he inherited poverty. Like that was his inheritance. Like that's so true for a lot of families, and I don't know, man, that really just feels bad, just hearing it hits a little too close.
I think there have been a lot of episodes where they've touched upon how unfair the economic situations are.
Yes.
This one felt a lot more real to me than even the IMF crisis, because while that affected everybody, these soon young rich folk were putting the blame on the people for their financial situations of they're overspending. Mm-hmm. And we're at one point in the episode, 1-0 talks to 2-0 and basically is like, how can you be almost bankrupt? It's only $400 million.
Yeah.
And it was that line when it clicked to me. Really, I mean, obviously we know all of this, that they are absurdly rich and their problems are on a different scale than most people's. But it was at that point that I'm like, of course, they have no concept of what it's like to live without money or without means. And for them, $400 million is just a stepping stone. That is what you use to get power and to get more wealth. And then we see the people, and I mean, I bet you we all know people who are either in debt, have been in debt, dealt with credit cards. It's incredibly easy to let that spin out of control. It's you take a loan thinking that you can pay it back. You can't pay it back, and then that starts to rack up, right? And it's just one of those real situations that affects so many people. And so to see that kind of in the same episode hurt a lot. Yeah. And then we get Jin Do-jun's background, and it just really hit home even more.
Yeah, and like, oh my god, man, his old dad's performance is just so. I know we don't see him often, but whenever I
Yeah.
do see him, my heart hurts. Like, you see, he's kind of smiling, saying like, "Don't worry, I'll handle it. Don't worry, it'll be okay." Like, he's genuinely like trying to like be happy. He's like saying like, "I'll take care of you. I'll take care of like the younger brother and everything. It'll be fine." And then you find out that like he took another like loan or something, and
Yeah.
you see Jin Do Jun screaming at him, saying like, "Can you just live and breathe? Like, don't do anything else. Like, I'll handle everything else. Can you just like sit there and not do
Yeah.
anything?" And you can see how just like the sadness he feels that he can't provide for his family. And I'm like, oh my god, like it's not supposed to be this emotional. Like, I don't think we're supposed to feel
No,
that sad about these things. But I feel like we're picking up like different things.
because they're both right, right? It's Jindo, or his former name I
I know,
forget.
I
I'm so
can't
sorry. I'm gonna call him
remember.
Jindo Jun for now. But Jindo Jun is in the right, saying, you know, that you're getting yourself into an impossible situation, and he's frustrated, and he just wants to take care of it. But the father has no other option. He's doing the only thing he can to provide for his children. So how do you get mad at either of them? It's
Yeah,
incredibly just a frustrating situation to watch, and sad knowing that this happens to many, many people.
yeah. Like, I definitely think these are not the things, or maybe it is. Maybe it's like what the writer wants us to feel too. Like, I don't know. Maybe they're
Maybe.
that deep, but I feel like we're sticking to some other parts of the show more than other parts that we're supposed to.
For sure, for sure. And you know, there were other parts of this episode that we definitely well, they hit home for us. But with that one in particular, I do feel that it's those real world connections. They always manage to find a way to tie it back to history in some way, and then that gives us that cultural context to, okay, no, this is real. This is not just some fictional situation. It's like, no, 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 this happened to people. This really affected people. And so I think the writers do a really, really good job of that. And we're in episode 14. Like, we're right at the end. And unlike a lot of K-dramas, I feel like a lot of K-dramas either fall apart at the 10 episode mark. It's like they run out of content, or maybe it's the last episode. This one still kept me hooked the entire time, and I feel like it's moments like this that really do that. They still have lots of reveals, lots of drama, lots of twists, but then there's still real human moments, so it doesn't feel completely imbalanced.
Yeah, yeah. I feel like I don't know. Like, I really enjoyed his previous drama, Son Joong Ki's like Vincenzo. I looked forward to every episode and everything, but like, I don't know. For this one, it just feels the more, in a way, just more grounded. Like, I don't know, it's to have more, like, obviously more connections to it, and like
Yeah,
maybe that is intentional. Maybe like that's like it's, you know how like Parasite the movie was created to show that the imbalances of like society. I feel like this
definitely.
kind of in a way is definitely like there as well.
It's dealing with a lot of the same ideas, and it's taking a more obviously literal approach to showing that it's maybe not as symbolic. But I really like how they've handled a lot of these situations, and again, the actors have done such a good job of bringing these characters to life, so that sometimes it feels weird to be focusing on this rich family when we do get glimpses of what other people are dealing with, but they make it so interesting that it's okay to focus on them and hate these characters and yet just a little bit like them still.
Yeah, but another sad part of the show.
Yeah.
You want to talk about that?
I want to hear your thoughts on this scene, actually. So, one of the big revelations in the last episode was that Jindo Jun was actually left entirely out of the chairman's will. So, Comey, I don't know about you. Watching this, I had a lot of questions because he's finally getting to see the video will, and we see his reactions. What did you think about how they handled the scenes cutting back between Jindo Jun and the chairman?
Sorry, I had to wait till you stop talking so I can clear my throat. I had a little itch.
Yeah, I get it. I get it.
Yo, I was kind of surprised that there was like video footage, and then I realized it's not that old. It was like 2003. But for some reason, I kept thinking it was still like the 80s or something. And I was like, yo, their computer looks so dinky too. The computers actually look like
It's crazy to think back to. We had those like old Macs that were like super round and that sort of stuff, or the old PCs that were little gray boxes.
I've never seen those before. They look like bubbles. The thing he had looked like in a bubble, like a bubble. It was so like
Trying to think back to what the exact model was that he was on.
it,
I can't picture the PC he was on at the point.
I don't know, but yeah, that was my first thought of that scene.
Okay, okay. Okay, and what about the actual scene itself between the two?
Yo, like it was so sad. He was, I mean, I felt like it was just like the perfect embodiment of their relationship, where he was like, he's such a rascal. He's so scum. He's so pathetic. Like he only feels sorry for me because he knows his grandfather is dying. Like that punk is not getting a single penny from me. He was just so like grouchy, and that was like his personality the entire time. And that was supposed to be like technically before they were shooting the actual part of the will, right? But then like you can see like during that time when he was talking about Jin Do Jun, like saying, "Ah, he's not gonna get anything from me," but he knows that because he is so much like him. I know that he is someone who wouldn't hesitate to sell me to buy Soon Young. Like he knows how, he just has so much faith in him, and he knows like he can accomplish anything. He's watched him grow up over the years and seen everything that he's done, and then like the audacity he has to like go against his family when no one dares to go even like head to head with him. And but he knows that like Jin Do Jun is not scared to like also like use him in a way too. I don't know. It was just like the perfect encapsulation of their relationship, and when they were already saying, okay, we can start the will now. Like, can you talk about Jin Do Jun? And then you see him starting to trail off, and that's when he's starting to get into his
A little bit into the delirium, right? He's
yeah.
starting into a little bit of an episode.
Yeah.
And he's having trouble remembering. Yeah.
Yeah, but then like those were his genuine feelings about Jin Do Jun too. Like of course like his mind kind of trailed off, but like what he said was still what he truly thinks of him, and how he says he is the only one that he's the one that resembles me the most. And you can see his genuine smile, and oh my god, he's such a good actor. Like what the heck, man? His facial reactions, like you can see, like I don't like the moment when his face starts like to trail off. I was like, oh my god, like his performance is like spectacular. And
like these are the types of performances I wish we could highlight more. Just because it's in Korean TV, it's never going to get the recognition it deserves.
yeah,
Like you could point people to this performance and it's never going to get nominated for something on the international scale, but he deserves to be recognized. This performance is phenomenal, and he's been great in other things I've seen him in, but this feels like, I don't know, this is some next level acting. Like you feel everything.
yeah, and you just know he's his favorite grandson. Even though 1-1 was like, you can no longer say you're his favorite grandson. He is most definitely his favorite grandson. He full on says, the one who takes after me the most. And then he just starts like laughing because he's just so joyful thinking about Jin Do Jun. And I was like, oh my heart, like I would be crying too.
It's one of those things where, because he's a little less inhibited by, you know, maybe his self, I think he puts up a wall a lot of the time.
Yeah.
But when he's asked without that pressure about his grandson, and when he thinks about him, he feels that joy. Yeah, absolutely. That's the moment I broke down and felt all the things, because it would be one thing if he was crying himself or something, but because you can see the joy, that's what hurts, because you know that's really how he feels.
Yeah, and I don't know, I feel like even though he was a pretty corrupt dude, I mean, all business people are pretty corrupt, I guess. Like,
I think that's a lesson this show teaches again and again. Yes.
yes. Like, I feel happy in a way that he got to have a grandson to give him so much joy, and for
Yeah.
Jin Do Jun to have someone in his life to like give him guidance and like challenge him and watch him grow and help him grow. It not maybe in the most conventional ways, but like rich family type of way. Like he at least he had
For sure.
someone. Like even like we didn't get to see him with his mom a lot, obviously, and his brother, but like it's nice to think that like his grandpa had a soft spot for him too.
Yeah, and I think that was one of the things that surprised me is I figured he would grow attached to maybe his family to a point, but I do think that yeah, even he was probably surprised at the degree to which he really came to care for his grandfather. And seeing that his grandfather cared for him as well probably was the thing that pushed him over the edge.
Yeah. Oh my god.
Because it was never confirmed. I don't think he really knew. He knew that his grandfather didn't trust him, but I think he knew that he was his favorite.
Yes.
But hearing it and seeing his real emotions, and had he not had the condition he had, he may have never said it
Yeah.
the way that he did. And so I feel like in some ways it was a bit of a blessing and obviously a bit of a curse given the situation with Mr. Lee in this case. Had he not had that, that would have never played out that way. But emotionally, I think it was probably beneficial for him being able to see the honest feelings of the chairman.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. Yeah. I but like Mr. Lee gave him this footage saying like only after he learns his lesson or whatever, like the lesson the chairman wanted you to have before I give you this. But I feel like the footage itself was kind of the lesson. He full on said, um, like I want to see how he can be when he hits rock bottom. Like I don't think really he's at. I mean, would this be his
This
rock
would
bottom?
not, to me, this would
Yeah.
not be rock bottom. It's
Yeah.
I think rock bottom in terms of his chances at the company, perhaps because he had just failed in terms of the shareholders, like he can't be reelected. And so at that point, he has to buy the company if he's going to have a chance or something
Yeah.
along those lines. And so I guess he was, I think the chairman figured that he would
Like he
sell
wouldn't
the
get it?
footage. Like, I think he thought he would just immediately make the choice that he didn't. And so now he's seen that he bounced back and he still managed to stabilize himself. And with the help of Mr. Lee now, he has a very good shot at actually making it. And so Mr. Lee picked his side, essentially.
But I
I
mean,
think that's all that was.
but like, did the chairman think that Mr. Lee was gonna sabotage him because like it was because Mr. Lee sabotaged him that he wasn't able to acquire Soon Young's like financial holding CEO position or whatever. Like, I feel like I don't know. It's getting a little muddled up.
I think Mr. Lee. I don't think he even trusted Mr. Lee. I think
yeah.
he probably, again, given
To a
given a
point.
different situation, if he was in his right state of mind, it would have been a little bit more ironclad. Like technically, that will shouldn't have actually gone through. The video will, because again, he wasn't in his right state of mind, and it could have been proven. But with that being said, we need it for the dramatic device. And so I think Mr. Lee kind of took advantage of that situation. I don't think he really trusted Mr. Lee more than he would have trusted other people. I mean, obviously a little bit
yeah,
more,
a
but I
little
don't think
bit.
he fully trusted him.
Yeah,
Right. So
yeah.
I don't think it was necessarily that he figured Mr. Lee would do it, but I think
Just in
Mr. Lee was
case.
able to take advantage of the situation.
Yeah, I mean, the chairman did mention before when he was like, when 3O's right hand lady betrayed her. It's like it was her own fault
Right.
for trusting her so much or whatever. So
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I can see that too. Yeah,
And this was another scenario where I was kind of disappointed in Jin Do Jun's character. Like, I think he's so smart. I think more than anything, he has a mind for marketing. Like, he knows how to spin public perception. He knows how to play other people, picking out their weaknesses to take advantage of their egos. What I'm usually really disappointed with is his actual business acumen and planning ahead for possible failure points.
yeah.
So in business, when you're working in PR, it's not about responding to disasters in the moment. It's about predicting every possible outcome and preparing for that. So let's say you're launching a video game and it turns out that, you had people crunching for 80 hours a week. As a PR person, you know this is a regular occurrence in the industry. You're going to prepare when that story comes out. You're not going to wait for it to happen. You're going to have something prepared. You're going to get approvals on it, then you're going to send it out. It feels like Jin Do Jun knows things are going to go wrong and never prepares for them. He thinks he's 2 steps ahead, so he's set. So in the shareholders meeting, when that info comes out, obviously he's going to get caught off guard. But it feels like he often doesn't have a plan until after the fact. And then he has to rebound and he inevitably gets help from people. And then he's able to kind of do it. Like he's very good at taking advantage of stuff he knows is going to happen. And that's how he can kind of get ahead of the game. But when he's actually the person who doesn't have information, he's often caught off guard. Like, he's not a superhuman person. He's not always the smartest person in the room, or at least he's very meek when it comes to being confronted by problems.
Yes.
He's good with his family members. He's good one-on-one, but in a group setting, he has no idea what to do.
Yes.
So it's interesting. Not only did we have the shareholders meeting, which kind of put a spin on Mr. Lee, we also had Soon Young, what was it? Soon Young Card, right?
Yes.
It's the credit card. So we touched upon this earlier, a little bit of the idea of them dealing with this credit card debt financial crisis. It's at the point where, well, we've seen Jin Do-jun actually take advantage of it. So earlier, when Soon Young was facing a problem, Miracle was facing a problem with financials, he had the idea, let's have people invest in Miracle. And the idea being that we can, create all of these investments. And the idea of a credit card is exactly that. You are borrowing money so that you can pay it back later, and you don't really have to deal with that immediately. It gives you a span of time that you can pay things back. Well, he's taking advantage of that, and then he sees the opportunity. He's like, well, I bought this credit card company from Soon Young. I might as well sell it off. And we're wondering, oh, why would that happen? Well, of course he knows that this crisis is going to come up. And who is the one person who really, really needs a surefire income at this point? None other than 2-0 himself. How can 2-0 still come to Jin Do-jun and assume that things are going to work out for him? How many times has he lost to him at this point in these situations?
Yo, man, I don't understand how he runs his business. It's also like what his daughter said to him too. It's like you just basically admitted that you're running the company the way you have been, like this with this fortune teller. And yeah, I don't understand how 2-0 still thinks that he, like, anything good will come out of like dealing with him. Like, he's seen the downfall of his sister. He's been through the downfall himself, like, and he's going with it again. But then the fortune teller guy was like, remember, I told you to invest during the IMF crisis and you didn't, and you could have earned money or whatever. Like, I don't understand.
Do you think it's possible for him to change at this point? Like, can people change? Because even at the worst moment, even after things went wrong for him and he confronts the fortune teller and is like, you told me this would go differently. And the fortune teller turns on him and he's like, actually, I misread it a little bit. It's too strong. The fire is too strong. Your financials got burned. And he's like, how dare you? And then he immediately turns around and goes, wait, what do you mean? Like, he's so reliant. Can he change?
I feel like this guy is not really meant to do business if he is relying on a fortune teller. So, I don't know. I can totally see his daughter, like stepping up and like going to take more charge, because that's her character looks pretty like powerful right now. Right?
She seems very competent. She seems well-spoken. She seems to call out the BS. Like, I'm waiting for the shoe to drop where we don't like her. Because right now, obviously, we've heard that she takes advantage of tax evasion and stuff. But other than the first episode where we find out that she confronts one, who we know is a bad person, so doesn't seem that bad on that front, what has she done for us not to cheer for her?
No, man. She came at a bad time. I don't know. I don't trust her. Her face looks sus too.
Oh, no. There's no trusting. I just mean I kind of like her. I kind of want her to win over the others. I think because she's competent, she's the rare one in the family who's actually competent. One is not competent. He's devious. He's he's deceptive. Is that a word? Deceptive?
Deceitful?
Thank you. I was looking for that word. He's deceitful. There are a lot of instances where we've seen him mess up, as have all of the children in the family. And so for her to come along and basically show that she has the business acumen to maybe lead the company, I'm kind of curious to see her go up against the others and shut them down.
I feel like she won't get that far.
Darn.
Yeah, no, they're building up 1-0 to be like a powerful supervillain. You see, like every time we've seen him right now, he's just like, It's like smiling. And like
He does give off supervillain vibes.
yeah, like he's getting too powerful, you know. He just bought Soon Young cards for like what 1.6 billion dollars. And Jin No Jun said, "You know, you could have used that money to help out the financial group or whatever. The like soon you could have helped. Oh, he didn't buy Soon Young cards. He bought the 2%. He said he could have used the 1.6 billion dollars to help Soon Young cards get back on their feet, but instead you bought it
Right.
to get the chairman's position. And you see him like kind of like his evil like vibes coming out, and I don't know, man. He's getting built up to be the ultimate boss type of feels, you know."
He is, and again, we know in the future he obviously was the one running the company, so I think it's safe to assume that he will stay in power, at least for the time being. He's going to step into that role of CEO. What's interesting about their relationship is I think he's aware that Do Jun is playing him to a certain extent, but he's okay with it because all he wants is that position now. He just wants to run the company, and he's okay throwing money at Do Jun to make the problem go away. Because, yeah, as you said, he got called out for it. And Do Jun didn't, it's not like he was like scolding him or anything. He was directly comparing him to the problems that he had brought up.
Yes.
And he did it in such a way that it felt like even more of a slap to the face. It was so good. I loved the writing with that. Again, so quotable, the show.
Yes, dude. So many things that happened in this episode. I feel like we don't even have enough time to like touch upon every single thing. But like, you were talking about competent people in the family. Hyunmin, like one's wife, right? The little spy, the
Yep.
little rat. Can you believe she's pregnant?
I actually completely forgot about that because it was just like thrown in there very quickly and then never addressed again.
Yeah, dude. He's so cringe. So he's getting the lotion, like massaging her arm, and he's like, "What? You said you want to be like my grandmother, so are you planning to kill me or something?" And I was like, "Oh, damn." She's like, "No, unless you give me a reason to." And then she's like, "I'm pregnant. Like you have to secure the baby's position to become the head of Soon Young, or else I'll kill you." Basically. And I was like, "Oh."
Is it even his?
That's what I was thinking too. Like, there's no way they're boinking. She looks like
No,
she
those
hates
two
him.
have about as much sexual chemistry as like, I don't know, my mouse and my keyboard. There's nothing tying the two together at all, other than the fact that they are a mouse and a keyboard and they both live on my desk. Like, there's nothing there.
Yeah, I was like, oh, she's pregnant. Get a DNA test, because I don't think that's it.
I guess he doesn't care?
Maybe, I don't know.
Because he seemed kind of happy about it
Yeah.
in
So maybe they are
a
boinking.
maniacal kind of way.
Maybe they are.
Maybe that's the one thing they have going for
Yeah.
them?
Anyways, another relationship in the drama. Song Min-young and Jin Do-jun.
You're the one bringing this up.
Yes, because I have to freaking say, he was going to propose to her? With what relationship? What?
Yeah, they must be like having a ton of time together off screen and just never show it. Like they haven't given us anything to build this up.
He's gonna propose?
I feel like this is one of those things where like to raise the stakes, you're like, and she's super sick. And it's like, wait, where did this come from? It's one of those, oh, and they were gonna get engaged. It's a cheap writing device is what it is.
Dude, oh my god, man. When they're arguing about like, oh yeah, you basically let your grandma go free. You know why I wanted to catch her so badly, blah blah blah. And he's like, please, just like let me just do this one time, and then everything will be good for us. I thought like that was him like saying like, maybe we could start our relationship again. Maybe like this is
Yep.
like starting
Yep.
a new foot. Not freaking proposal. I was like, huh? You got a freaking ring?
You know, his line of thinking has never been the clearest. I think that's fair to say.
Dude, they could have gone this entire they could have gone the entire episode without the pregnancy or without this ring business, and it
Yep.
would have been fine. Like
Yep.
we wouldn't have like. But I specifically wrote it down because I was like, what relationship do you have that you can propose?
Well, and this episode was an hour and 10 minutes long. I thought most of that was like fully necessary. We got good twists, we got good build up, there were emotional moments. Those two things, we could have gotten down to an hour. I feel like we could safely get it down to an hour.
Yeah, it didn't have to be an hour.
We don't need to know. I don't want to know about our child. That's what I will say. I don't want to know.
I'm so like, baffled right now.
Okay, but another person in the episode who competent might not be the right word, but definitely is more competent than was initially let on. The mayor himself,
Yep, dude.
3 Alpha. What an episode he had.
3 Alpha?
Is that not his title?
You're right. He is the
Okay,
wife.
okay. Yeah. He is the wife in that situation.
Yes.
Or whatever the name would be. He is more of a 3 Beta. Let's be real. So, yeah. But he had his moment where we see him actually backing Do-jun. It's a big thing because we find out that basically the proposal that his opponent was making, well, actually, I guess it's the other party at the federal level in Korea, was basically pushing through a bill that would allow tax incentives for conglomerates. And it would allow them to put money aside and avoid a bunch of tax. And he actually goes up against that party and is saying, essentially, he wants economic democracy, I think is the term that they use.
Something like that.
I could be wrong about that, but I know that that's in there. And the idea is that it's equal for everybody. Everyone should have to pay taxes. Everybody is held to the same standard. And he goes up against the Soon-young family. And then he also announces that he's running for president.
Yeah.
What's really interesting about this is that his wife was not on board with it. She was not on board with his ambitions because it's going to cost them $1 trillion. It's that how much was it? They said on the screen. It's like, is that $1 billion a year?
Yeah, something like that.
$1 billion in terms of taxes. Like, that's a crazy amount of money. And that's, I think, per child. So each of them is going to owe $1 billion.
Yeah.
So obviously they're not too happy about it. But did he back the wrong horse? This is my question for you. By going with Do-jun and believing that he could become president, did he back the wrong horse? Should he stuck with the family because, yeah, he might become a minister now under the new president, but it's for the opposite party. His ambitions of becoming president are at least put on hold for a long time, and he does not have the backing of Soon-young anymore. Is he better off working with Do-jun in this way, or is he better off should he have stuck with Soon-young?
I feel like he had to grow some hairs.
Very careful phrasing.
Yeah. He is, definitely whipped very hard in this family. So it was like nice to see him grow and become his own character. You can see the confident mayor he is versus like the meek husband at Soon-young. I feel like even if he stuck with the family, he knows that he definitely wouldn't have any real support. They'll say like, oh yeah,
Right.
we're family, like we'll have each other's backs, like, not really. So I feel like even if he just stuck with them and kept his head low, he wouldn't have really gone far in life. He would just have to hold his wife's purse everywhere, all day, every day.
Okay, who won the argument then? Who won the argument when she confronts him after he doesn't get the presidency? Who came out on top? Was it him or his wife?
He won because he ran into the men's room. It was so funny.
That's it. Literally running away from his problems is the funniest thing in the entire episode.
Yes, but you can see he does like he got a little more confident. He was able to argue back, and he was able to yell back. And I think
Good for him.
yeah, he had to run away because he didn't want to spill some more information. But like, yeah, he was able to stick up for himself, and I feel like the path that Jin Do-jun threw him on, even though he was kind of just leading him down a path that he like even Jin Do-jun probably wasn't that confident in. Yeah,
Exactly.
he grew as a character, which I think ultimately in his life probably would be more beneficial. Like, I'm pretty sure he, like, dude, oh my gosh, when it was announced, like, oh yeah, the president, and I was like, oh, he's actually president now!
And then he tears it off?
I was like, oh my god, they actually got me in that moment. They actually, like, that was such a good scene.
I know, because I was thinking back and we were like, there's no way he actually gets the presidency. We wouldn't.
Yeah, like, there's no way. And then, like, the president, I was like, and then he rips
Yeah,
it
no,
off.
can you imagine? Can you imagine? I would have lost my mind. I'm like, that happened quickly.
Right?
And I'm like, wait, no, it's episode 14. That actually makes sense. But timeline-wise, I still feel like it's so long ago that I'm like, there's no way. There's no way. But yeah, it makes sense. It makes sense.
Yeah.
That actually did make me realize, though, there are two other characters who have never betrayed anybody. The Miracle employees.
Yeah.
Mr. O has never done anything. He's a very logical person. He hasn't betrayed anybody, despite being somebody who obviously is very wealthy by this point.
Mhm.
We can maybe trust Mr. O. Imagine he's the one who kills Jin Do-jun. Like he's bought out by Soon Young.
Bro, I'm like, the table flip and actually like punch my monitor, man.
Oh, I want to see that, please.
Oh my gosh, maybe for the live reaction of episode 16, right?
Maybe. Just the absolute.
Punch the screen.
Okay. Are there any other major things that you want to talk about before we wrap this up?
I feel like in the end we still got to touch upon all the little things we wanted to discuss. But I think the big thing, the last thing we can talk about is what the chairman left off for Jin Do-jun, his inheritance, the micro project. Yeah.
This is what I mean by Jin Do-jun killed Jin Do-jun. It just furthers the theory because we saw in the past that Jin Do-jun, former Jin Do-jun, I keep forgetting his name, but in his past life, he was holding the micro budget. That was the thing that he discovered, the slush fund that he ended up exploring and gets him killed, that he was looking into this. So this ties right back to the very first episode. So we're finding out that the person in charge of this was the chairman himself, who passed it down to Jin Do-jun. What were your thoughts on this? Like, what did you think when you saw what it was?
I honestly didn't really know where the story is going to be continually leading on from because all the flashbacks of him in his past life holding the documents, confronting 1-1 about it, 1-1 being like, oh my god, you're the best employee, you go do this as a senior financial blah blah blah, now blah blah blah, whatever. Like his life looked like it was about to take off at this moment, but in the end it was like his downfall. So seeing the slush fund was actually the chairman's slush fund, I was like, oh crap, I don't know what direction they're gonna lead from now. What about you?
I'm so, I mean, this is the one thing that I'm so curious about because it could answer the questions remaining. Like I feel like we've had most answers given to us at this point. You know, we found out about Mom, we found out about a whole bunch of who's betraying who and all this other stuff, but we still don't know who killed him. And I feel like this is going to be the path that takes us to who killed Jin Do-jun in his former life.
Yes.
And I guess the question now remains, what happens to him in this life? And again, why is the mother so upset? Yes. So I don't know. I'm very curious about this line, but I have no idea where it's going. And I guess that's a good thing. Like it leaves us on the edge still.
Yeah, I keep forgetting that like the ultimate goal we want in this drama is who killed him. There's just too many.
I feel like they kind of lost it.
Yeah.
Like they don't bring it up enough. Like he should be more angry. He should be more like he barely investigates them. And maybe he's doing it behind the scenes, but you're right. It's easy to forget that that's the ultimate mystery.
Yeah.
It's more about who's going to own Soon Young.
Yeah. Yeah. I thought like this drama would be like, yeah, because he ends the first episode like, who's the one that killed me? Who's the one that got me killed? And after that, it's kind of just like, yeah, the legacy of Soon Young and all the crappy people. I mean, I'm enjoying the ride, but like, I do want to know the final answer, and I feel like we're just gonna get that in episode 16 probably.
Okay, I'm gonna throw something at you, and this is more of like a structure question or a writing question about. Okay, let's pretend for a second the first episode did not exist.
Okay.
If we started at episode 2 and we just got rid of the parts about his former family, would this essentially be the same story? Would we be as into it if we didn't know about his past life? If we pretended that we're just told at the beginning of episode 2, which is now episode 1, that he was a poor person and he was reborn into the richest family. so that we get little flashbacks throughout of, oh yeah, he really was poor, and unfortunately his mom died, and this sort of thing. If we just started with episode 2 without the full buildup of episode 1, would it matter? Because do we really care who killed him? Would it still be the same story of this kid growing up and trying to take over? Would it matter?
I guess his anger of like being killed is supposed to fuel his drive to want to take over Soon Young too, right? Like it's like,
Do we see that though? Do we see it?
yeah, no, we don't. Yeah, I know what you're saying. Yeah, I'm on the same boat where you probably don't need all that first episode information, especially like seeing him getting killed and everything. I mean, it made it really very dramatic, but like
Yeah.
it, yeah, nothing else.
I liked the first episode, and I feel like it set a lot of interesting stuff up, but it hasn't really paid off. Whereas I actually feel like episode 2 is where the tone of the show clicked, and I really knew what the show was going to be from that point on, and it feels like that's been a direct continuation. Episode 1 feels like a different show at times. Like the way it was shot, the way the characters, I think it gives us glimpses more into the family maybe. But I remember even not being interested in the family. I was like, I'm only interested in Jin Do Jun's character like in the first episode. And now, of course, I'm much more invested in everybody, but it almost feels like an entirely different show to me. I'm like, I feel like we could cut episode 1 and still get the core of the story and actually maybe even convert that into more time to build up a few more of the internal conflicts and focus less on the murder aspect. I don't know. Like it's just an interesting question because it does feel so far removed from what the rest of the show is.
Yeah. Maybe if they could have sped up the timeline, like kind of match back to like where we started back in episode 1, it could have helped in a way. But I don't know. There's too many things that go on in this drama, and I'm not hating on it. They're all like very entertaining storylines within this major one. But yeah, I wish we got more connections with the murder because like, that's the thing that
Agreed.
captured us.
I feel like you hit something really true to me, at least. Like all of the story threads are interesting on their own, but they're not all necessary. And like I think So Min Young could actually be entirely cut from the show.
Yes.
I think there are certain subplots even within the family that could be entirely cut.
Yeah.
Like I find him a really entertaining character, but the president to be not necessary to the overall story.
Yeah.
I feel like the core story is the 3 children and their children plus Jin Do Jun and Miracle. Like I feel like if they had focused a little bit more, they could have built those stories out to be a little bit stronger. And again, love the show. I have actually ended up enjoying it far more than I thought I would. But I totally agree. It could be more focused for sure.
Yeah, but I mean, I guess like they had to like build these little storylines for the actors themselves, like because like Song Min Young's character is supposed to be she is a brilliant actor. I haven't seen anything, but that's what a lot of people say. So like I just wish she got the story she deserved. Like she should have
the one she deserves.
Yeah, like the character they gave her definitely did not do her justice because we've been hoping for her character to like grow and develop and like become the Soon Young Grim Reaper like we thought we were going to see, but she just never came. And then you just freaking threw out this thing that he wanted to propose to her. Like, what the heck is going on? What did you do with this storyline? Like, you completely messed it up.
And I think that's where my frustration comes from is I really enjoyed 2 aspects of the first episode. One, the mystery of what happened to him. And 2, I really liked their relationship in the first episode. I felt they had chemistry. When I saw those 2 actors on screen, I was like, dang, who is she? And why are they like what caused this friction? Because I thought they had a lot of chemistry. Never again. Never again. It just like it completely tossed out the window. Both of those things. So it has its strengths, but I would say that's definitely one of its weaknesses. Is they just didn't. It felt like they were writing one show for episode 1, and then they discovered what they really wanted to write in episode 2, and it just felt like an entirely different thing. And they forgot. They were like, oh, actually, we don't need to talk about that stuff so much.
Yeah. I mean, we'll see in the next episode at least, right? Hopefully we'll get a little bit more information.
Final 2 episodes. We are about to finish the series. It's gonna come down to the wire on this one because they still have a lot to get through.
Yeah.
I'm very excited. How would you rate this episode? Thinking back, what would you say?
besides the wacky proposal and the surprise pregnancy,
Yep.
I'm just gonna pretend those never happened, okay?
Sure, please, please.
I think I'd still give it a 4 because like just the
Yep.
emotions and like the performances were actually very very powerful. Um, yeah, maybe a 4. What about you?
I'm right there with you. Yeah. Yeah, I think it had one of my favorite scenes in the entire series with him watching back the
Yes,
chairman's tape.
yes,
Again, it's I if it wasn't so painful to watch, I would watch that one just to see the performance. It's so subtle
yes.
and so powerful.
I rewatched it.
So I have to. You did?
Yeah, I watched it twice.
How could you do that to yourself?
He was so good.
He was.
I had to rewind him. Like,
Give this guy an Oscar.
yeah, I
Give
could
it
see
to
his
him.
face like change as he like as he's going into his delirium. I was like, yeah.
I want you to go back and watch one of his other dramas.
Which one?
I'm gonna forget its name. Minseng? I don't know how to pronounce it. I'll send it. I think I've actually sent it to you already, but I'll send it to you again
Yes.
because seeing the difference between performance is incredible. There's still that smoldering under the surface of like anger, but it's a little bit more outward in this one. And he's somebody actually who fights for doing the right thing. And he doesn't always get it right, but it's such a different character, and the way he portrays him is much more energetic. And so I don't know. Seeing this, I actually didn't know it was the same actor until somebody pointed it out, and I was like, "Oh, no wonder he's so good." And it was one of those moments for me because I loved him. He stole that other show for me as well, but in a very, very different way. So yeah, I'll get you to watch that at some point, even if it's just an episode to check his performance out because he's incredible.
Yes, you should. Oh, there is one thing I wanted to ask you about.
Yes.
Cinematography wise, actually.
Oh, okay.
The scene where 2-0 and Jin Do-jun were meeting at the cafe,
Yes.
the insanely big windows, and they were not silhouetted at all. How?
What happened there?
Because it was a beautiful shot, but like,
Yep.
how?
Yeah.
Green screen? I was thinking green. I was staring at their hairlines and like their hair in general. I was just like, is that green screen? Because like, there's no freaking way you can do that.
That was my thinking. Is instantly there were a couple times. Now you have me staring at everything. Anytime they're in a car, I'm like, is it green screen? Is this one green screen? Like I stare at everything, and it's all your fault. And then in this scene, I was thinking the same thing because you're right. With windows that big, the beautiful way to shoot it would be in silhouette. And then if you need to get around to see individual subtle performances, you flip the camera to the other side. Like
Yeah.
you either do a camera movement, you flip to the other side, and you have them brightly lit because that's with windows that big, it would be super soft lighting. It
Yeah.
would be gorgeous.
Yeah.
No, there was no silhouette. So either there's two options. They're green screening it, which makes sense that there would be no silhouette then because it's a flat, no light background.
Yep.
Or they are blasting lights at them and they would have to offset the windows. And it's possible you could drag in lights. It's not hard these days with, LEDs to get a very big light source that is not super hot, so they're not boiling. But at the same time, it's like, what would be the purpose of that? Why would you light it that way? Green screen just makes more sense in this scenario, I think. Did you think it was green screen? Is that your
Well, when I first saw it, I was like, is that green screen? Because there's no way. Because like you would have to have massive lights to bounce at them, but you
Yeah.
would also see it in the window reflections too. It's a kind of like those windows were humongous. I was like,
They were massive.
yeah, like it was a beautiful shot, but I was like also staring at the table to see if there's like reflections of anything from like similar background, right? I was like staring at everything, and I was like, I'm pretty sure this is green screen.
You would see catch lights. You're absolutely right. Now that you're saying it, because you're right. Okay, either you would see it in the window, or if it's not, they're not showing the whole thing. Like you might be able to hide it at an angle where it's like too high or something like that, and it's bouncing down. But it doesn't really make sense because you would see it either in glasses, on the tables, on something where you're getting a catch light.
Reflections.
Nothing. There's no reflections. And they're usually using those reflections really effectively. So the fact that we're not seeing one, probably a sign. How do you do this? Are you a genius?
Huh?
How did you notice this?
There's like no way that like how I genuinely could not think of a way like how they could film something like that because there's so many things reflecting the windows, the tables,
Yeah, yeah.
the his glasses. I was staring into his glasses too to see like the different, like if there's like any
That,
reflections.
that's what I'm always looking at now is the glasses. I want to see the cameraman. One time I want to see the camera operator. That's it. How have they shot the whole show and I've never seen the camera operator? We see so many reflections.
A lot of time taking into comp. You know, we have to catch those moments. There's so many times where I'm like going through footage at work and I like, there's something like right there. Like there's a little thing right there. There's a little marker, and then you get to like mark it down, tell the producer, and the producer's like, "Oh, that's like big enough that we have to cover it up, or at least small enough that maybe no one will see it." But I'm like, "Yo, it's
Where
right
were
there."
you on Game of Thrones?
With the
Where
cover.
were you? One of the great errors, if anybody listening has not seen it, it's a pretty famous example by this point, but there was a Starbucks cup left in a shot of Game of Thrones that is very obvious when you see it. Like, it's just sitting there on the
How
table.
did no one catch that though? Because like at work, when I see the process of everyone, how many like people these things have to go through, like how did no
Yeah.
one mention it?
It's one of those weird things where I both am like, yeah, how did that get through? And at the same time, I'm like, yeah, that could totally get through. Because I know when I've watched something enough times,
Yeah.
I completely tune something out. And so you rely on the next person to catch what you missed. But if it was like a toggled layer or something like that, and they had removed it and they were like watching it back and then they exported the wrong one, it went to the next person and it's not their job to look out for that stuff and they're focusing on the audio. But it goes through so many people. So how did no one catch it? It's one of the wild cases we'll never have an answer to. Probably someone got fired from that.
Probably that's a huge thing.
It's why we need somebody like continuity in post. Like we have somebody on set who does continuity, who is basically their job is to make sure everything is consistent. So I think we talked about this on an earlier episode. I'm not entirely sure, but if you have somebody who's drinking in a scene, you have to make sure that the next time that you do that exact same shot, the glass is there. And so that way, when you go across the table and you see the glass that they took a sip, it has to be the exact same amount lower. But it also means that there's somebody there to make sure that everybody's getting their lines exactly right. Continuity is a very difficult job. And in post-production, there's a similar thinking where you have to make sure that everything's consistent across everything, but it's very easy to miss stuff on any one pass. So you have all these checks and balances in place to make sure that doesn't happen. And yet, even on a show like Game of Thrones, something like a Starbucks cup gets through. It's crazy.
Yeah, I don't know. I feel like I'm that last check at work because I basically send off whatever footage that has been, whatever versions of the cut has been approved to the other side to give to them.
Right.
And I'm always catching things like the color's a little weird here. The camera shake is a little bit different. It's not matching completely. Like I always have to ask people, like, was this intentional? Did you want to do this?
Yeah.
Like, did you add a camera shake, or is it just like something's wrong with the timing or whatever? I feel
Yeah.
like I'm the last person who always goes through it, and I always have to like flag stuff and like bounce it back. I'm like, no, we can't send this off. Like, I'm like, if someone like me can do this, what is going
actually,
on?
I think that's one of your strengths. Maybe this is off topic, but I think this is one of your strengths and why I like working with you as an editor, because you have a very detailed eye for that sort of stuff where I do not. Like, you know me, like I miss that stuff all the time. And once I've watched something, I will never notice it. And if somebody on the other end isn't maybe looking out for that stuff, if they just implicitly trust the other side, I could totally see it getting through if they didn't have someone like you to do that last check. It's really interesting, but it's true.
I don't know, man. I feel like it's not like me can catch it. There should be other people who would catch it too, you know?
Do you see how bad she is at taking even very small compliments? So, everybody, if you're listening to this, we're going to cap this off, but make sure that you go and drop Comey a compliment down in the comments. And that's going to do it for this episode. Comey, thank you for joining me. This has been episode 14. We're almost there. 2 left to go. And then we're going to be on to our next series. We're going to choose one. 2 episodes per week. That's it. 2 episodes, maybe even 1. Whatever show has that, that's what we're going to watch. It's a little bit more sustainable for us.
Yes.
But I'm excited to get into whatever next show it is and wrap this one up. I can't wait to finish this one off.
Yeah, it was, really sorry for taking a longer break than we expected.
Like a full month.
Yeah, we didn't expect it. But
No.
yeah, like the show has been great. It has been great chatting about it and everything. Looking forward to the next one because, you know, you just need a little bit of change, right?
Totally.
Yeah, but dude, now I'm paranoid. What if that shot isn't green screen?
Well, then we need to know how to do it. That's the thing. If it's not green screen, how did they do it?
Yes, I hope they have a behind the scenes of that, you know?
Yeah, that's the stuff we need to find.
Yes.
That's what we need. I would love to watch behind the scenes of this show. I think there's so many interesting elements. But wait, no, we can't keep chatting. We cannot
Yes.
keep chatting. We're holding people up. Thank you guys for listening to this episode, for watching. As always, if you're still checking this out this late into the game, we appreciate you so, so much.
Yes. And thank you guys for 80 subs.
That's we hit 80 subs. Let's go.
Thank you guys so much. We'll catch you guys in episode 15.
Bye.
Bye.